Welcome back, my gentlemen. I'm Cartoon Gent.
And I'm Rehash, the Starter of Chaos.
And today we're going to be continuing our adventures with My Adventures with Superman. I'm sorry, that one came out weird.
Alright, I got the popcorn. I heard this one's going to be a two-parter, so I brought some extra. Hey, where's Decipher?
I don't know. That little guy has been missing for ages now. He comes and goes as he pleases. Well, I don't really want to wait any longer. So without further ado, this is My Adventures with Superman, a two-parter. The episode begins in a unknown prison facility, where we see a bunch of Superman's villains over the course of the entire run, including Banshee, Rampage, and a few others. But mysteriously, their door opens up. When they get outside, they are immediately hit with an electroshock.
Oh, obedience collars. Don't see too many of those nowadays.
I guess Amanda Waller and the General decided that they were done waiting for Superman villains to crawl out of the woodwork, so these would have to do. It's Superman hunting season.
Rabbit season.
Duck season.
Rabbit season.
Duck season.
Teenager season.
Ooh, count me in on that action. We cut to Superman taking a nap when all of a sudden he's awoken by a cry for help. But no one's around. He looks out his window to see a fire, burning very far into the distance. Of course, he does his usual thing, saves the day, stops the fire, but then he hears another cry for help, and another, and another, and another. To anyone who's just watching, you would have known that he's unlocked his next superpower, super hearing. Now he can hear anything, anyone, anywhere, at any time. Even the General's voice, as they're planning their attack on Superman, which definitely gets him on edge.
Well, we cut to the daytime and Jimmy Olsen revisits Superman and discovers that he's been awake this entire time. Bragging about his new super ability, super hearing, he can hear anyone in all of Metropolis, and he's been helping people all night, while still trying to find information on the General. And it's clear that he's cracking under the pressure.
Yeah, not getting any sleep is already pretty unhealthy. But not getting any sleep while saving people, stopping bad guys, and saving lives? Yeah, even Superman needs a break. Jimmy tries to tell them this, but of course, Superman is Superman. He can't slow down, not when he can actively hear people crying for help. Speaking of which, off he goes.
But Jimmy's not being too terribly worried, as he turns out that doing Superman stories on his YouTube channel has made him a success story overnight. Literally millions in subscribers, and even more in views.
Hey, that's not fair. I've been covering Superman for a while now, and I haven't had any updates in my subscriber count.
Well, it's because you didn't have a rival. Remember, he had a rival in that one episode.
Wait, hold on. I think I might be able to fix that.
Be my haters!
Well, we cut back to Lois, who is surprised in her office to see all these bouquets of flowers decorating her space. All left by Clark, who couldn't be there because he was saving a train full of pedestrians. You know, the usual. These things would have been a great romantic gesture, if it wasn't for the fact that she was holding a ball filled with kryptonite, and she was wondering what the fuck is going on with the evil Superman, and if her Superman is going to be evil. Now, Lois demanding honesty from Clark, that's understandable. Everybody wants to be honest and told the truth. With that being said, she's proving herself a hypocrite by not telling Clark about this information she's found. He 100% would love to know so he could reassure her, but instead she makes the dumb decision.
But no time to dwell on that now, because she gets approached by her boss, Mr. White.
Oh my god, I forgot he was in this show.
Well, don't get used to him, because he's only going to be around long enough to showcase the plot moving along, as she's trying to get Lois to pair up with a new reporter that just walked in.
She looks kinda like what I imagine Lois Lane would actually look like.
Apparently her name is Vicky Vale, and if you know anybody named Vicky, then you know they are icky. She's a writer for the Gotham Gazette, which subtly hints at Gotham being in this universe.
And apparently, her and White know each other, as she was better at him in everything when they were growing up. Apparently, also, he wants Lois to get her on board the Daily Planet by using any tactic necessary.
Why is he trusting this type of responsibility to Lois and Jimmy?
Because she's only after one story. The one story worth writing about in Metropolis. Superman.
Okay, no lie. If this woman were to approach me, even if she was writing a smear campaign, I would probably fold like an omelet. And don't you say you wouldn't either. This woman embodies all of the traits, and I mean all of the traits, that Lois Lane used to be before this series.
I think you just have a thing for Queen Bee archetypes, both figurative and literal.
So we cut back to Superman as Superman tries to use his super hearing to try to find any information he can on the General. But he clearly doesn't have a hang of the superpower yet, and he keeps getting distracted by rescuing random civilians and helping saving lives. Because he's a Boy Scout.
Well, that's part of the charm of a superhero. What's the point of a superhero if they don't save lives?
I mean, any gothic, hot topic edgelord would fold like an omelet the moment they hear a little girl crying.
Well, Superman manages to catch a news broadcast where an invisible enemy is running around. This gives him flashbacks to the invisible enemy, the Mist, he fought with the Intergang. But then we cut back to the news reporter, Lois, and Jimmy, as she wants to hit the streets to try to find anyone willing to give her any information on Superman. But she doesn't just want any information. No. She wants bad PR. She wants negative reviews. She wants to tear Superman apart. In other words, she's not really so much a journalist, so much as she is fake news.
Unfortunately for her,
pretty much everyone they talk to has glowing reviews of Superman, so she's not getting the information she wants. They even interview that little kid from the very first couple of episodes.
You know, I also forgot that little kid existed.
You know, I know negativity sells news more than positivity, and I know everybody has a bias, but intentionally going out of your way to try to find people to give you negative reviews on the guy you're trying to interview feels very... what's the word?
Untrustworthy.
Agenda-driven?
Fake news?
I think we'll just go with the fact that she's a really bad reporter. Well, Superman kidnaps Lois and Jimmy for a quick sec in order to tell them about the fact that he heard about the General and he needs their help tracking him down. His super hearing is helping him out, but he needs eyes in the skies. Jimmy is all about it, using his YouTube feed, trying to find any and all information from reliable sources on the internet. But Lois sees that Superman is currently driving himself into a bit of a corner. Bags under his eyes, paranoia. He's overworking himself. And that leads to exhaustion. Which, when that inevitable fight scene between him and the Suicide Squad comes up, he's not going to be at his best. He needs to relax. But Superman don't got time to relax. Not when Metropolis is the most danger-prone city in all of America. So after Superman leaves, Lois and Jimmy rejoin the news reporter as she claims she found her interviewee, which is... who's this guy again?
I believe they said his name was Alex. Alex, I believe.
Who was Alex?
Hold on.
Okay, give us a sec. Where's he? Alex. Here he is. He was the assistant of the Parasite that one episode.
Well, she wanted biased, unfiltered Superman hate. Can't go any further down the rabbit hole than a guy who actively was against Superman that one episode.
So we go back to the interviewer's non-biased interview of Alex, as he exclaims all the problems that Superman caused him personally in his life. Not wanting to take any actual accountability for his own actions working for a supervillain, he just blames it all on Superman. And his former employer, but mostly Superman.
Lois does stand up for poor Superman, because, let's be honest, he's not exactly the best character witness. But the news reporter says that, well, everybody else has been giving nothing but glowing reviews. Do you call that unbiased? And I say, that's a conflict of interest there, lady.
Look, TLDR, media manipulation is a villain thing to do, alright? Your job is to tell the news. If I was in charge of you, I'd tell you to do the news that I want you to do. Not the news that you want to do, okay? Leave the supervillaining to the professionals.
Well, feeling she got what she desired, she decides to leave in order to work on her story. But Lois and Jimmy try to stop her, saying, "Don't run a story like that could ruin Superman's life." And she goes, "Well, yeah, that's the point. I'm not a good journalist. I'm a journalist." Before leaving. Okay, let's just assume, just real quick, that Superman was everything that she's going to write about him. That he's a tyrant, that he's a threat, that he's an alien menace, that he's a blah blah blah, that he's doing all this for the shows and cameras, and that he's just Homelander in disguise. Let's just say for a second he's all those things. If a newspaper gets out describing him doing all those things and giving him bad press, do you think he was going to allow you to live? See, that's something that these news reporters never take into account. It doesn't matter how right or how smug you are and what award you get, when your head is caved in by the equivalent of a freight train.
Well, we cut back to Superman, who's having a very difficult time of it with his new super hearing abilities. He does try to concentrate, but all that concentration amounts to nothing since he just got this ability, and he doesn't know how it works. He's running into fire hydrants, the ground, anything that's solid. And eventually he even manages to find Mist. But in the process of trying to rescue him, he pushes him out of the way of an oncoming truck, which slams right into Superman. But because Mist had his invisibility tech on, it just looks like Superman just destroyed a truck for no reason. And the worst part about this reality? Cell phones. Cameras. The world is watching his every move. So, you don't think it's too early to play the Green Goblin clip? I don't know. This doesn't seem like they hate him just yet. More of they're starting to get a little terrified of him while he's losing it. To be worthy of William Dafoe's Green Goblin speech, you have to be at your truly lowest point. That is when it's most effective. I don't think he's quite reached that point just yet.
Okay, so we'll hold off on it until at least next season. So we cut back to Lois and Jimmy, who realize how situationally fucked Superman is. So they send him a message to meet him back at the Daily Planet. And when he arrives, they tell him of the situation, but he doesn't really care, as he's still trying to find the general. And he's losing it a little bit more. And when he decides to try to fly off to try to find the general again, Lois begs him to stop. To stop, slow down, take a breather. This isn't healthy. What he's doing is just pushing himself further and further into the corner. And even if they find the general, what then? Is he going to take on the entire US military? But then she says the line that causes him to go anyway. You should just be normal.
Oh, right in his insecurities! You can actually see the moment where all hope for humanity dies in his eyes. So he flies off in search of the general in order to rescue all of the people he's taken captive. This is when he finally tries to hone in on his super hearing, when he finally hears the Mist's footsteps. He flies immediately to his location, and now there's nowhere left for the Mist to hide. The Mist attempts to fight back, but he's Superman.
He begins interrogating Mist, and Mist, well, he's an open book. He tells him exactly what happened. After the Intergang's defeat by his hands, they were captured by the government, by Pretty Boy specifically. They were taken on to a place where they were forced to wear electric shock discipline collars and forced to train under his tutelage. The only reason he escaped is because he has stealth tech, and he was able to get away. Now he doesn't even care about supervillain anymore. He doesn't care about the powers anymore. He just wants to rescue his sister. This is something that Superman can get behind, and so the two of them temporarily team up in order to try to find the facility. But as they get there, it's already too late. The prisoners have boarded the ship, and they're flying away, presumably. But Superman is just like, these bitches realize I can fly, right? As he super speeds, flies all the way to the ship, rips open the door, and then gets immediately socked into the face. That's right, it was all just one elaborate trap. So, somebody quickly explain to me why Superman couldn't take all of his former supervillains he's fought back to back.
Well, he's emotionally, physically, and psychologically exhausted. He's dealing with a new superpower that he has barely any control over and is giving him headaches. He's dealing with a lot on his plate, and he was jumped by all the villains he's fought up until this point with all their tech while they're rested and trained to kill him. So, yeah, there's still no reason why he won't win.
Okay, so I don't want to glaze Superman too terribly much, but with that being said, I don't really see Superman having any real trouble with many of these low-level B and C tier supervillains. Yeah, the Parasite did show up, and yeah, that's definitely a point in their corner. But even with that, I don't see any of them really being able to deal with his speed blitzing them and his overwhelming super strength, durability, and laser vision. Parasite is literally the only asset they got that can take him.
With that being said, psychological distress takes its toll and is making him sluggish. He's not being able to concentrate, and they're taking full advantage of that.
Things are only getting worse as Lois and Jimmy go back to the Daily Planet and they're trying to help out Superman, only to discover that the reporter lady had already went back to Gotham and wrote her report, smearing Superman's name even more. Turns out this whole thing with her joining the Daily Planet was just an elaborate setup so she could get the scoop on Superman and go back to the Gotham.
I hope Batman gives her a wet willy. Well, fortunately or unfortunately for Superman, the world is live streaming him getting his ass kicked by the sinister Suicide Squad, and Lois and Jimmy decide to run to his location in order to try to help him out.
Okay, genuinely speaking, as a supervillain, this shit pisses me off 100% of the time. So I just gotta ask. Yeah, wanna be there for your friend. Yeah, you have the magic of power of teamwork and all that. But what are you realistically going to do? Like, what is your actual plan once you get there? How are you going to help him? You have no superpowers, no special talent, no high tech. You're literally just fodder. If anything, you're just another thing to worry about. Unless Zordon flicked you a power coin in the last 5 seconds, you can do nothing.
So the sinister Suicide Squad continue to pound Superman into the dirt like he owes them all money, being completely relentless and taking advantage of his fragile state. But eventually one punch goes too far, and Superman decides to go into Ultraman mode, and he starts laying waste to them, laying down the law, showing just exactly how powerful he really is.
He clearly is showing that he was being nice by letting him get all those licks in, and now it's his turn, and he lays waste to the entire battlefield.
But before Superman has a chance to get away, the Parasite blindsides him and starts giving him the Glock 9000, gulping down every last bit of his juicy energy, empowering him while weakening Superman. This causes Superman to start falling forward. And of course, when the battle is nearly over, that's of course when Amanda Waller and the governor arrive. The general tells Parasite to stand down, they have him weakened, but the Parasite is clearly off his rocker, trying to beat Superman. Thankfully for Superman, they install a shock collar on the Parasite and cause him to go down. So now, the General and Amanda Waller have their prize. We also see that Mist
was in on it from the very beginning by the subtle detail showing his own shock collar. So they take Superman and decide to hit the road. Lois and Jimmy arrive just in the nick of time to watch Superman be carried away by government agents, maybe never to be seen ever again.
And that was part 1 of my adventures with Superman season finale. And watching a superhero get absolutely dogged is pretty much the highlight of my day.
Yeah, I'll give the writers credit where credit is due. I know I'm pretty harsh on this series, but giving Superman a lose condition with him being tired, exhausted, and pushed to his limit before getting jumped by all those supervillains all at once is actually kind of a good excuse of why they were able to beat him, even if he was able to defeat most of them before the parasite took hold. Also, love the new character with the new news reporter from Gotham. She definitely embodies that true journalism bias spirit of fake news and fake articles. Though I'm not entirely certain it was the best idea to write a hit piece trashing the guy who can bench press a garbage truck filled with cement blocks. I said she was a good character. I never said she was a smart character.
Though the thing I'm finding most troubling of them all is the fact that Lois is still keeping the kryptonite ball a secret from Clark. This forces me to give negative marks on her character, because she's not only keeping secrets that are basically all about her boyfriend, but she's also being a hypocrite. If she was keeping secrets like this from her, she would be throwing a massive tantrum.
They also haven't figured out the problem of giving Jimmy something to do. I mean, it's not that hard. Give him a girlfriend, or give him a job, or make him more obsessive with his YouTube channel. Something! But I guess that's gonna have to be wishful thinking for the next episode. So until then, I'm Gent. I'm Rehash.
And I am Devin Ooze.
And we'll see you all in the next Gentleman's Chat. Bye-bye! Hey, Decipher. Good news, your orders arrived.
Good, good. Once they see what I brought them, they'll be dying to hang out with me again. Oh, sorry, I was thinking of a really funny joke at that moment.